You ever pop the hood, hear a tick that wasn't there yesterday and feel your stomach drop? Or you nail a pass on the highway and the truck hesitates like it inhaled water? If you've been eyeing an EcoBoost or you already own one, you deserve the truth Ford doesn't put in the brochure. It isn't that EcoBoost is a bad engine. It's that turbocharging direct injection and modern emissions controls create a specific set of failure patterns when real life shows up. The early failures aren't random. They're predictable once you understand the mechanisms. Today we're going to expose what's actually happening, why it happens sooner than you think, and how to keep your truck out of the shop and on the road. Start with the promise: V8 torque with better fuel economy. On paper, it works. Small displacement at cruise, boost on demand, precise fueling. But here's the villain: the duty cycle you actually live in. Short trips, heat soak, winter blends, towing, bigger tires, and humidity stresses a turbo DI engine in ways a naturally aspirated V8 shrugs off. The physics bill comes due early if you drive a modern truck like an old one. Let's pull the curtain on the 5 failure families that keep showing up in owner logs and shop invoices, and then I'll give you the simple habits that prevent most of them. Failure family. 1. Air, water, and the charge air cooler. Turbo engines compress air. Compression creates heat. The intercooler strips that heat with a cold side path. Under certain humidity and temperature swings, that cold side can condense moisture. Park, cool down, restart, tip into throttle, pooled condensate can get ingested. You feel it as a stumble, misfire, or momentary power loss. In worst cases, you get a fouled plug, damaged coil, or a code cascade. It's not mystery electronics, it's water. Ford has iterated ducting, revised shrouds and deflectors, and calibration tweaks to reduce it, but the mechanism never goes away because physics never goes away. If you live where dew forms on everything at 6 a.m., store the truck with the nose slightly uphill if possible, and don't slam wide open throttle from a cold, wet start. Ease into boost the first minute. You're letting the system warm, purge, and stabilize before you ask it to work. Failure family 2. Timing system stress. Chains, guides, tensioners, and cam phasers. Turbo engines generate torque early, and modern calibrations chase low-speed response. That means more load at low RPM, more chain oscillation events, and more frequent phaser movement as the strategy hunts for efficiency and emissions targets. Add extended oil intervals, and you get varnish, stick-slip motion, and cold start rattle that becomes persistent. Rattle is not a sound, it's a scoreboard. Ignore it and your chain elongation becomes a phaser event, which becomes a full timing service. You've seen those invoices. The fix is boring and effective. Oil is strategy. 5,000 miles, not 10. Use the viscosity the calibration expects. The phasers are tuned around it. If your truck cold starts with a half-second clatter after sitting, log it, record it, and address it while it's a software or oil issue, not a hardware one. Failure family 3. Direct injection and the carbon tax. DI is brilliant for power and knock resistance, but no fuel ever bathes the intake valves. Blow-by vapors and oil mist slowly paint those valves. Airflow drops, tumble quality degrades, and the engine feels like it lost its memory. Rough, idle, softer response, mileage drifting down. People call it, "It's not the same truck." They're right. You can fight this 2 ways. First, keep the PCV and intake tract absolutely tight. No weeping couplers, no cracked hoses. Second, choose maintenance like you choose tires, for your terrain. If you do lots of short trips, a catch can is cheap insurance. At higher mileage, a professional cleaning restores the baseline. Or pick the trucks with both DI and supplemental port injection. That wash helps keep you out of the blasting bay longer. Failure family. Turbo periphery, actuators, wastegates, and plumbing. The turbochargers themselves are often fine. It's the parts around them that cause chaos. Electronic wastegate actuators, boost control solenoids, tiny vacuum lines, oil feed restrictors, and coolant quick connects live in heat and vibration. A $60 sensor with a cracked connector can create a limp mode day from hell that looks like the engine is dying. Heat cycles, road salt, and ham-fisted service multiply the odds. The prevention is simple and unglamorous. Inspect the hot side quarterly. Look for witness marks, dried coolant bloom, cooked loom, oily film where there shouldn't be oil. If your truck is tuned or tows heavy, consider fresh heat shields and upgraded clamps. You are not modding, you're future-proofing. Failure Family 5. Thermal management and oil shear. If you tow into headwinds or climb at altitude, the engine spends long stretches at high turbine inlet temperature. The strategy protects hardware with richer mixtures and timing moves. You feel it as falling MPG and a softer truck. Your oil feels it as shear and fuel dilution over time. If you keep 10,000-mile intervals, you're asking old oil with thinned viscosity to run hot while phasers and chain tensioners depend on clean, stable hydraulics. That's the moment minor annoyances turn into early failures. The fix is exactly what you think it is. Fresh oil before big trips, not after. Make sure the cooling stack is clean. Bugs, cotton, and mud packed in fins add up. Don't tailgate in dust. And let the engine idle 30 to 60 seconds after hard pulls so hot spots level out. Notice what ties these families together. None of them are mystery Ford curses. They're predictable outcomes of running a high-output, small-displacement engine hard in a truck life. The exposure is bigger when your habits trigger the mechanism often. Short trips, long idles, instant boost demands, heat, humidity, and deferred maintenance. Now let's talk about what Ford quietly exposed by how they've updated calibrations, parts, and service guides over the years. They know where the early failures hide. You can read it between the lines. Revised intercooler ducting, updated PCV routing, phaser strategies that change cold start timing, lifter and chain supply updates, software aimed at smoother deactivation and relight, even subtle changes to under-tray airflow. None of that is a scandal. It's the company acknowledging the real duty cycle and trying to steer the fleet away from the ditch. The problem is the promise never changed. V8 grunt, fewer stops, modern efficiency. Owners take the promise into Wyoming wind with 33-inch tires and wonder why the truck drinks and ticks. That's not marketing's job to admit. It's our job to understand. So, what do you do if you already own an EcoBoost and you're worried you're on the early failure path? Here's the playbook that saves engines and wallets. Oil discipline. Treat 5,000 miles as a ceiling, not a suggestion. If you tow, change before the trip. If you do mostly short trips, 4,000 isn't crazy. Use the spec Ford called for, thicker, because internet is not better when phasers and tiny oil passages rely on expected flow. Air system integrity. Every 90 days, pop the intake path apart and check clamps, couplers, and the airbox seal. Clean or replace the filter before it looks filthy. A tiny post-MAF leak makes trims and fueling chase ghosts, and ghosts eat pistons and MPG. Warm-up reality. The first 60 to 90 seconds define your engine's day. Don't hammer a cold, wet intercooler. Don't spike boost leaving your driveway. Let the oil hit temperature and the cats light off before you ask for torque. You'll feel zero difference in commute time and a massive difference in how the truck ages. Towing IQ. Use tow/haul. Keep the cooling stack clean. Downshift manually on long grades to keep RPM in the efficiency island instead of lugging and enriching. Watch ambient temps and wind. A 10-mile-per-hour headwind at 70 behaves like towing extra weight. If you added bigger tires without re-gearing, accept that you moved the load line. Either gear it correctly or budget the MPG hit and more frequent oil, intercooler, and condensation awareness. In humid regions, consider the updated ducting and deflectors if your model is known to stumble. Park with a nose-up bias when you can. If the truck felt wet on the first pull of the day yesterday, don't repeat the mistake today. Ease into it, let it clear, then go. Fuel and spark. Use decent fuel, especially in heat and under load. Knock control will protect hardware by pulling timing. Your wallet pays for it in miles per gallon and exhaust gas temperature. Replace plugs on time and use the heat range the calibration expects. A tired plug in a boosted cylinder is how coils, cats, and pistons start writing letters. Software isn't the enemy. If there's a calibration update that addresses drivability or cold start behavior, take it. If the truck behaves worse after, document it and go back. But ignoring updates because it was fine is how you end up driving with the same behavior that caused the early failures everyone complains about. Pick a shop for fluency, not zip code. A good independent with the right data tools can save you thousands by diagnosing the state the engine thought it was in, not just the part that lit the code. The difference between new turbos and replace an actuator connector is the difference between a horror story and a Tuesday. Now the big question, should you buy an EcoBoost? If your life is suburban commute with occasional towing, you'll love it. quiet, quick, strong down low, easy to live with. If your life is trailers, heat, elevation, and you keep trucks for a very long time, you need to either adopt the habits I just listed or accept that a simpler, naturally aspirated V8 stacks the deck in your favor on longevity and repair cost predictability. Neither choice is wrong. Pretending they behave the same is. Let's put numbers on what early even means. For many owners, early failure is anything substantial before 100,000 miles. Timing rattle that forces a chain phaser job, repeated misfire hunts from carbon or moisture ingestion, actuator replacements that stack up, or cooling system leaks that migrate into expensive labor. If you drive 15,000 miles a year, poor habits can summon those bills in year 3 or 4. Good habits push the same risks past year 6 or 7, or off the calendar entirely. The spread between those timelines isn't luck, it's behavior. Ford exposed the truth by how they've iterated the platform. The hardware is capable, but it expects intelligent ownership. You can have V8-like shove and modern efficiency, but not for free. You pay in attention, not just fuel. If you refuse to pay attention, you will pay in repairs. That's the EcoBoost deal. Here's the resolution. If you already own one and the truck feels off, don't panic. Baseline it. Fresh oil, plugs, air filter, intake, and PCV integrity, clean the cooling stack, check intercooler drains and ducting, clear codes, reflash to current calibration. Then drive it like a system, not a poster. If you're shopping, match the engine to your life, not your fantasy. EcoBoost for mixed use with some restraint, big displacement or different gearing for heavy routine work. Either way, track your maintenance like a business expense, because that's what modern engines are. A business model that rewards the owner who learns the rules. You wanted the truth before buying. Here it is. Early EcoBoost failures aren't a mystery. They're the logical outcome of turbo DI power, living in truck duty without the habits that power expects. Now you know the mechanisms, the math, and the moves. You can buy with eyes open, drive with intent, and keep that early word out of your vocabulary and your invoices.